Hello everyone, my name is Protesilaos, also known as Prot. In this video I want to talk about the Emacs mindset and the Unix philosophy. I want to discuss what kind of person or what kind of thinking one must have to approach Emacs in the right way and be productive with it. And discuss a bit why I think using Emacs is not contrary to the spirit of the Unix system, of what we know as Unix philosophy. Just to say as an introductory note that this is a video blog, so I will not be doing any live demo or tutorial here. I just have an Emacs window open in the monitor here in front of me, and here to my right on the monitor here is the program that records the what you are seeing. So yeah, there is no demo here, just me talking, so I'm going straight to the point. I want to approach this issue of the Emacs mindset and the Unix philosophy in sort of a roundabout way by talking about something that is not Emacs related specifically. And this is the typical power user who focuses on the terminal. The CLI tools. So you are using a terminal emulator, you are very opinionated about your choice of terminal, and there are many out there. You try to optimize even the choice of terminal emulator. Then you are probably using a text editor like Vim, and you are using it inside the terminal. You handle your email with a program like Mat. You manage your music collection with a client of the music player daemon, or perhaps something like CMuse. Maybe you also do your calendar and stuff with Calcurs. Maybe you also do your task management with something like Task Warrior. Or as was the case with me, if you watch my backlog, I have a video, you have your own method of handling your to-do list, and this involves various Unix tools like cat, grep, and things of that nature. And in general, you try to do everything inside the console, inside the terminal. Then, after you have your applications all set up the way you like them, you try to make sure that switching from one application to the other is seamless, as seamless as possible. So you try to make sure that the key bindings are all the same, as was the case with me, for example. Use Vim keys everywhere, basically. Then make sure that the various UI interfaces would also be consistent. So for example, if you are highlighting a line in Mat, the current email for example, you want to make sure, for example, that the colors that are used there are the same colors that are used when highlighting an RSS entry in Newsboat, and then the same in the music client, etc., etc. So you're trying always to make sure that the context is as integrated as possible. Everything looks the same, the keys are the same, so that you have an integrated computing environment. That's the idea, that's what you are trying to do. And you have everything inside the terminal, of course, which means that you have all the things that come with the terminal. You know how to kill an operation from within the terminal. You have the same font settings, the same colors. If you enable transparency, you have it for everything, and you know the whole accoutrements of that come with your terminal emulator, the whole set. Then after a while, once you have configured everything, you realize that you are missing something. You cannot control all these programs centrally. They do run inside the console, but they are independent. So a workaround for this is to use a terminal multiplexer. Of course, a terminal multiplexer is not intended just for achieving integration for this specific task, but you can use it for that as well. So as was the case with me, you will start using Emacs, the terminal multiplexer, and then do the same kind of thing that you did with many terminals. Now you do it inside of a single terminal, running a Emacs session, and then every application, every program that you open is inside the Emacs pane. And then you have Emacs windows that hold panes, and then you organize your windows based on your session and things of that nature, not to bother you with the technicalities of Emacs. Again, what you are trying to do is you are trying to achieve a consistent experience. You are trying to have an integrated computing environment. That's what you want to do. And if you take that step to its logical end, that pursuit, if you will, you try also to tweak your window manager specifically, again to use the same keys. That's what I did, for example, with the binary space partitioning window manager. Every motion was a Vim-like motion and things of that nature. So taken to its extreme, you are using all these disparate programs, a window manager, a terminal, a text editor, an RSS reader, an email client, the whole thing, and you are trying to make them work as if they were part of a singular experience. And you can get a lot of productivity out of that. This was my setup in general for at least the last 1.5, 2 years, maybe more. This is how I used to work. But if you have that mindset, if you have that approach to doing things, then you quickly realize, you eventually realize that, okay, this is what Emacs does. Emacs is all about integration. Emacs is all about having a common basis on which you can build on and achieve a truly integrated computing experience that spans everything from your email, your to-do list, your news reading, your text editing, your programming, even your web browsing, and the whole thing. Everything Emacs does, you can do it in a manner that is consistent and feels a part of the same experience. So this is what I already understood before switching to Emacs, and now that I am an Emacs user for more than a month, I can already confirm that this is indeed the case, that what you really need to achieve integration is to bring everything together, and Emacs truly lends itself to this kind of mindset of bringing the whole computer within a common basis and working on that. And just to illustrate this point, what you are seeing here, by the way, is an XFCE desktop environment running on Debian 10 Buster. My distro will remain the same for a long time to come. It will always be Debian stable from now on. I'm certain of that. And so I have switched away from my BSPWM session. Of course, that session is still fine. It works perfectly. But exactly because I don't want to have context switching. I want to have integration. I no longer want to use super and the Vim keys to change windows, for example, as I used to do in BSPWM, and minor things of that nature. But this is outside the scope of this video. Just to note that this is XFCE. I have disabled all the key bindings that XFCE provides, and everything now is part of Emacs, and I am working towards integrating more things in this setup, which will trickle down to my config and be published online and things of that nature. So yeah, that's the basic idea of Emacs. I think terminal power users and Emacs users have a thing in common, and once you realize that, then Emacs makes perfect sense. Which brings me to the point of the Unix philosophy. A common thread, or at least something that I see quite often when I browse the various fora for free software enthusiasts, is that, okay, Emacs tries to bring everything on the kitchen sink, as they say. It is bloated. That's the idea. It simply tries to do too much, and they say in jest, of course, but with a kernel of truth to it, that Emacs is a nice operating system, but it lacks a good text editor. If only it had that. Which, okay, I think even the editor itself, without any extra keys and stuff, it's still more than capable, but okay, yeah, I get the joke. And so the Unix philosophy is used as a sort of a rebuttal against the idea of using Emacs, because what you should do, and this is what they insist on, do one thing and do it well. That's the gist of the Unix programming guidelines, what we know as the Unix philosophy. And I think that's a sound approach in general, the do one thing and do it well, when it comes to systems design, when it comes to engineering, when it comes to all sorts of things we do in life. However, if you truly want to make that kind of argument, if you truly want to use a philosophy as a sort of an authority that we cannot dispute and we must either accept or be labeled as morons or something, then you are committing an error, because anything that has to do with a philosophy, of course, has to be approached with a mindset, with an inclination that is conducive to the conduct of philosophy, and this is to not be dogmatic. You don't come here to shout and to pound on your chest and to be very passionate about things, claiming that some philosophy, some authority says so, and therefore this is the absolute undisputed truth. This is not how philosophy works. If you want to come with a philosophical disposition, you have to be dialectical in the original sense of Socrates in the Platonic dialogues, of you will posit a certain thesis, and if the other side provides you with an antithesis that is more cogent, more analytical, more better, factually correct or whatever, then you will arrive at a synthesis, you will accept that, or you will adopt your position, and then you will move from then on. You don't lose an argument that way. What really happens is that you win, because you liberate yourself from a certain misconception, a certain falsehood. So there are no winners and losers when it comes to dialectic. It's only winners. If we approach matters in this spirit of arriving at the truth rather than winning the argument, then we all win. So you shouldn't use the Unix philosophy as an authority, because you must understand also from the history of Unix programming and the Unix operating system and things of that nature, you must understand the context in which these guidelines were formulated and were put to actual use, were implemented. And this was to create an operating system in the same way engineers create an engine. You have to really think about the various components that make up your system, and you want to make sure that these components within a spirit of the division of labor perform their specialized task without replicating tasks that other components have. This is the gist of being efficient, right? If each specialized tool does only what it is given to do, then it is optimized for that, and therefore you achieve efficiency and a more stable and rational system. So the gestalt, what emerges from this is a rational and well-defined, well-designed system. So in this regard, to the thing of Emacs, if you really want to make the counter argument, Emacs also does one thing and does it superbly, and that is to interpret Lisp. Emacs is a Lisp interpreter, which is defined, its core is defined in C, the C programming language, and then on top of that is a lot of Lisp code, and this Lisp code is used to parse in real time, to evaluate in real time the Lisp code that you pass to Emacs. So in effect, Emacs is a program that evaluates itself. And this is why it's also presented as the real-time, self-documenting, extensible editor. Maybe not in this order, but that's how it is touted, how it is presented. So yeah, it is a real-time editor, and it does that thing. So basically what you have is a foundation on which to build. So what you build on top of it, that is your choice. What matters is that you have a common basis, which is the Lisp evaluation, and then using that tool set, you can do everything that you want to do. What we said earlier, you can achieve the integration that you are looking for in your computing environment. In this regard, there is no conflict between using Emacs and admitting that the Unix guidelines for programming systems are indeed sound and well thought out, because that is what they are. They have a lot of thought has been put into them. The people who designed them were indeed great system designers. They really thought about it. Unix was a great operating system, and thanks to that we now have free operating systems like GNU/Linux and things of that nature that we all enjoy and cherish. So this is basically the whole gist of my blog here. Just to say that we don't need to get into heated debates of Emacs is bloated or the Unix philosophy. No, don't do that. You don't need to use specific guidelines, technical guidelines, philosophy, if you will, to forge a dogma out of it. Technical guidelines are not a dogma. Philosophy is not a dogma. These are used to achieve rational results, and if you have disagreements with this philosophy or guidelines or whatever, you can present your counter arguments, and if these are well thought out and cogent, the others will accept them, because you all share the common objective of developing a system that is rational and that is consistent and well thought out and well integrated. So that's the thing. Just to close with some notes of what I am doing here. What I did yesterday is I installed XFCE. I cleared all the key bindings that are built into XFCE. I just added some styles here, nothing too fancy. Just a simple thing to get me going. So basically what you see here is the bootloader for Emacs, and then everything I do is within Emacs. I still have not integrated email into Emacs, but this is something that is towards the top of my to-do list when it comes to integrating things into Emacs. Web browsing, I am already using the Emacs web browser, EWW I think it's called. I'm already using that for much of my web surfing, not for everything. For example, when I have to post this video, I will have to log into a graphical browser. But yeah, for most of my browsing, I use Emacs. For my RSS feeds, I use Emacs. This morning, earlier today, I implemented an MPD client, the music player daemon. I implemented a client in Emacs. It's called the EMMS, I think. It's the Emacs Multimedia System, something like that. And yeah, so yeah, that's the basic idea. What I did before, I am doing it now. Nothing has changed whatsoever. It's just that now I have found a platform, because this is what Emacs is, that allows me to take my mindset, the mindset I already had, the mindset of the CLI, of the terminal power user, and take that to the next level. That's how I see Emacs, and not as some bloated software that is, I don't know, an altar to Richard Stallman or something like that. It's not that. That's all for now, folks. Thank you very much for your attention and for your patience with this video. I'm not sure. I hope I didn't ramble too much. Goodbye for now.